More money, you got less problems. At least minor ones, all your basics accounted for. Team elite I run with, I'm guaranteed to be Final Four. Less money, you got more problems. More money, you got less problems.
Good evening, the back community, bringing Albany community's knowledge. Thank you for staying engaged and staying tuned in. Tonight, we have Ms. Jillian Sherman from the Albany community, who is going to be tonight's interviewee. Thank you for being with us tonight, Ms. Jillian.
Thank
Jillian
you for
from Philly.
having me. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Good. Listen, I couldn't wait to tell your story, and thank you for being flexible with us. And I look forward to diving into your story tonight. Let's see. Okay. My first unofficial question for you is: we've technically been quarantined for over a year now. Mm-hmm. How have you and your family been surviving through COVID-19? Have you been doing anything creative? I know you are an educator, and I know you're going to go into that next. But how have you done anything creative? How has COVID-19 affected you?
So COVID-19 has taken some of my family members. However, those who are still around, we have found inventive ways to use this technology called Zoom. And we have been connecting with one another and making sure that we're checking up on one another. For those who can travel, we've been meeting up so that we can check in there. And we have just been blessed to know that we are allowed the opportunity to still live on this earth. So we're grateful for those who remain, but we're hanging in there.
Okay. All right. First things first, sorry to hear about the passing of those family members that you did lose. And you are absolutely right. I share your sentiments. It is a blessing to still be here. And I have arguments and debates with some friends and some family members about this COVID-19 thing. And I said, listen, man, 560,000 people going like this. So you play with it if you want to. Won't be me. So, but I'm glad that you are alive, breathing, and the rest of your family has learned how to be creative through this pandemic, because it hasn't all been bad. You know, I have learned some great things going through COVID. And my pastor says it all the time. He said, if you come out of the pandemic the same way you were when you went in, you were doing something wrong. So I'm coming out different.
Powerful. It's all about the change.
Yeah, man. It's always about change. Let me see.
Well, if this pandemic didn't push you, then
listen, you gotta come out better, and you better come out. You should come out better. You know what I mean? If everything from relationships to finances to your dreams and your aspirations, it was just like, it's now or never. And it's been a lot easier for some people too to even pursue academic pursuits that they wanted to do right now. It's like, listen, I'm home. I might as well go ahead and tackle this and get this done.
Yeah. But like a rubber band, it's all about the stretch, you know, and I just think that growth came out of this, even though it was a dark period for us. We should have come out like stronger than ever with some growth and all that took place. It was a tough period, but we are here.
All right. Well, listen, Ms. Jillian, I'm going to hit you with your first official question for tonight. What are you doing now? What kind of passion projects are you working on? What part of Albany did you grow up in? Here's your opportunity to tell the Albany community about you.
All right. So currently I am an assistant principal at an all-boys school. So shout out to all my Brighter Choice families, past and present. And our school is here within the community. I never thought that I would be doing what I'm doing, but life somehow has taken me on this journey, and I'm shocked. And so the experiences led me here, and my passions in life have always been track and field and modeling. So throughout my years as an educator, I've always strived to incorporate my outside skill sets to teach my boys different things like teamwork, self-discipline, confidence, and poise. But, we're in COVID. So schools like mine, we're really working hard to keep the kids safe and maintain social distancing. So as we speak, my main focus is working with my team to lessen the achievement gap, especially with our young males of color. And as we all know, children are born with the ability to learn, but some cultures and ethnicities like our own, we have the potential, but we just have to push it. And in these times, it's kind of like, it's not just in our own backyard. Like I grew up in by Elk Street, by the Albany Public Library. Okay. And pretty much for me now, the goal is to enlighten the boys that I work with, like I said, especially the Black and the Browns, to know that there is a world beyond just where we are. And that if we actually tap into it, we will not be stuck.
Nice, nice. The population that you're working with is a population that is near and dear to me. So shout out to you for being the VP at an all-boys school, because it is truly important to grab our young men early and keep them for as long as we can. So shout out to you, because that is a job and something you got to be truly passionate about. You just making me thinking about just even working with Model for all of those years. It's like working with all boys is special, and you get the opportunity to help breed and grow the next generation and how they grow up as young men. So shout out to you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Kindergarten to fifth grade.
Kindergarten to fifth grade. They say, what was it? There was a book by Kwanzaa Kunjufu. What was the name of it? Destruction of Young Black Males. And that book helped me to understand, just even like from a curriculum aspect, like how essential it is for young Black men and when they first start seeing themselves and in the curriculum that they're learning through school. And he was saying around the time of fourth grade is when slavery is introduced. That's really the first introduction that they have to seeing themselves. And this is how they're seeing themselves outside of, February. But yeah. So that is definitely an important population that is near and dear to my heart, Ms. Jilly. So shout out to you for doing that. I didn't even know you were the VP over there, but doing big.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, I know you said that you grew up around Elk Street. But here's my favorite question that I love to ask everybody. Where's your favorite place to visit in Albany and why?
Well, this was like back in the day. So now, you don't really have these places now for me. But I said the library because it was right there. Well, I had two places. I had the library and I had the new courts. So I just felt
those are two stark differences right there.
So I felt the library because for me, it was right across the street, and it was a place where, I was always rushing to get to the children's section because I wanted to be a part of the summer reading program. I wanted to read as many books as I possibly could because I wanted to win that prize that they had at the end where you could walk across the stage. Never got it, but I just wanted to keep reading all the books. And then I would say, when you got into high school, it was the spot to be. I went to a all-white school, and for me, I had the ability to see people who looked just like me. So to sit there and listen to the minds of other people and actually converse with them and have conversation and talk about what we're learning, that was a good thing for me. So I love that. In regards to the new courts, who wouldn't like a good basketball tournament? The city comes up, you just sit and watch.
I did not go there for basketball.
Listen, I was a bowler when I was young, AAU. So I just like to sit and watch the game, but to each his own. Some people go there for other things. Some people just go to watch the game.
Okay. Yeah. Well, one, you are the first guest out of 31 that has said the library was their spot. And that is something that I think is very unique. And I think it's something that we don't learn to appreciate until we become more mature individuals, whether you're still a young adult or not. But those types of contributions, being in a library, pay dividends that will stay with you for the rest of your life. Where literally just forced my two twin nephews to start a reading club with my wife because they were all they wanted to do was play the games. Like, no, so now we have a reading club where they're going to read books together for that. So, nice. Shout out to you. You were the first person out of 31 that said that, but it's definitely balanced with the new courts. So
I mean, just be honest, like, in my household it was really strict, so to go to a library, it was very privileged, so I take that privilege and I run with it. So I got out the house.
Any way I can get out. You said anyway I can get out. That's right, I'm going to the library. And what was it, we used to have, was it RIF, the reading is fundamental program?
That and booking.
Yeah, I wanted to be like you. I wanted to keep reading books only because I wanted the personal pan pizza you used to get from the RIF program. But I got discouraged because we didn't have a car in my household. So it was just like, I used to always be like, how am I going to get to Pizza Hut to get this personal pan pizza? And I could never get there. So I was just like, damn this reading. So that's what I did. I put reading to the side. I picked it back up, but I put reading to the side because I could never get my personal pan pizza. So I know you had a goal of getting it.
Pizza Hut pizza was worth it. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Yeah, man. Here's one of those questions that will force you to go deep. Miss Jillian Sherman, thinking of your younger self. I know you said you were in track, you played ball, you were at the library. What do you wish someone would have told the younger Jillian?
Wow. Okay, so this is what I believe I wish someone told the younger Jillian. I wish somebody answered all of the questions to my whys rather than saying, because I told you so. I feel that a lack of knowledge of something can cause you oftentimes to get in trouble or to partake in things that are not beneficial to your journey in life and to your purpose. So if people just answer a question and just say what it is or what the why is of that question, I think I would have loved that.
Okay. All right. Once again, to be able to have your questions answered and not just shoved to the side, because it's something I'm definitely guilty of right now with my soon-to-be 5-year-old. And I tell my wife all the time, I say, listen, you know what? I got to make sure I have patience because one, I don't want to discourage him in any way, but he is just like me. That boy is a talker and he will talk and ask every possible question. So now it's just finding myself, instead of giving a frustrated answer as a parent, just like you just said, indulging him in what the question and what the question is that he has. So
yeah, to me, it's about those teachable moments. Like, how is a person supposed to know? How are they going to learn? So I know back when I used to teach kindergarten and they would say, why? It's like, remember when you were growing up and you wanted to know an answer and it wasn't given to you. Have patience and just tell them. And it's a real moment for them. It's authentic. And once you tell the why of something, people can actually apply the wisdom you give them to their next situation. So if you tell me don't touch the stove and I ask you why, it can't be because I told you so. I told you because I don't want you to get injured. I don't want you to deal with burns or third degree, first, whatever degree it is. I don't want you to go through this. And I think that we oftentimes shield the truth. And when we shield the truth, we actually do more damage than we actually wanted to.
I agree. Yeah. Shout out to wanting to go further and get my questions answered. So answer these questions and you'll save me later. You'll save me later. As an educator, do you think education saved you or opened up doors for you? Why and why not? Why or why not?
Education opens the doors for everyone. It could be the littlest thing you're educated about, like how to turn a light switch on. Yes, education is key. For me, college wasn't a topic of discussion in our household. I know that I was pretty much like, I wasn't the only child, but my brother and I were 10 years apart. So I felt like the only child. And, you know, when you grow up in a household where your mother is doing the best that she can and she's working a lot, you're only exposed to what you're exposed to. I did have the opportunity to be a part of programs like STEP and other programs that opened us up to technology and things like that. But it wasn't until I actually was put in that position or other people gave us those opportunities to do those things. I learned about college through track and field, to be honest with you. And like actually going to college, track and field, I recognized that, whoa, I get to travel. I get to go here, and meet all these exciting people. I get to, you know, because my big person back then, you know, before she was, you know, on the juice, Marion Jones was my girl. But, you know, even like FloJo and just, you know, just thinking about them, it's like, I want to travel worldwide and I want to see, you know, the world and run everywhere. So college was open through my eyes through track and field. And I just remember my senior year, I had a bad knee injury. I tore my ACL and my meniscus. And the doctor told me I would never run again. Thank God that I have faith. So I pretty much, you know, sought the God that I serve. And I pretty much exercised my way back in through OT and PT and things like that. And I felt like I made it back and I actually was able to get my track scholarship. It wasn't to my, you know, initial school that I wanted to go to, but hey, I was exposed to college and I'm grateful that I'm at a school that I work in now that pushes our boys to see, it's not if you go to college, it's when you go to college. And every classroom that we have here is named after a college. So we're exposing our boys to college at an early age. Why? Because it's not a conversation in most families. It's just not. Like my mom came from Alabama. She came from where it was sharecropping. Like my grandfather was a sharecropper. So it's kind of like my mother's way older. So I just grew up knowing that like, hey, you just work hard. That's it. Work hard, provide for your family, the end. But it's very essential that we let our young people know that there's so much more beyond what we see and what we can fathom. And it's not about all that the music video show. There's a wealth of knowledge out here for us.
Yeah, and the experience, if nothing else. You know what I mean? A lot of people say, oh, you know, I didn't need an expensive experience like that. But you meet some of your best friends. You'll learn how to be your own individual. You can learn how to manage money. If you haven't managed money already, you can learn how to manage.
I learned how to cook in college. I learned how to cook.
Where were you cooking in college?
Listen, they had dorms that had stoves. But my mother is a cooker. I didn't inherit that gene because I drove her crazy. So I just did the sports. I was a sports child. But I learned to cook in college.
Get out of here. You over here learning to cook while the rest of us is eating oodles and noodles. I
tried that life.
Pies and Kool-Aid.
No. I was okay with the cafeteria food for a while.
Okay. Hey, listen, man. That's dope. Like I said, I think it was definitely. I'm thinking of my freshman dorm. I think we might have had a small kitchen downstairs, but that was for the entire dormitory to share. So there was lots of pizza, there was lots of fast food, there was lots of all the bad things that you can eat. But yeah, so did you keep up with cooking since then?
I have tried, because I feel like you have to push to teach yourself how to eat healthy. That's when you have health scares at times, you feel like you have to work to make sure that you're inside, like you're giving your body the best. A lot of things now are filled with a lot of things that we should not be ingesting, in my opinion. But I've learned to make a lot of vegetarian meals. I was a pescatarian for 7 years, so I learned how to cook a lot of things with vegetables.
Okay. Yeah, I just what was it? It's actually, I'm not sure if you know her too though, but she went to U Albany too at that same time. Melissa, I'm not sure what her maiden name is now. I think it's Washington now, but her and Jean hang out down here, and she was a pescatarian. And one day they came over, and I'm sitting there. I was like, "Listen, I don't know what to prepare to eat. I mean, what to prepare to cook for them." So,
a seafood broil.
Listen, whatever it was, I know when they got here, her and her husband laughed at me, and it was just like, "Listen, yeah, we can't eat that." I was just like, I thought that this would be, yeah, but it wasn't. So
some people think turkey is still vegetarian.
You know what? That's what it was. That's what it was. And afterwards, it was like, Tyrell. Then it made sense after I thought about it, but I was under pressure. I was just trying to get something, and that didn't work.
Tried.
Yeah, that didn't work.
You tried.
And your next question, I think you alluded to earlier as well, because I know you said you went to a predominantly white school. But do you feel that you were miseducated in the school district that you went to, whether you went to public or private at all? And how did you recognize the miseducation, if you did?
So I went to a Catholic school, and at the time, I don't believe that I was miseducated. I know you talked about the textbooks. I remember really focusing on Black history. There was a time in 3rd grade, and then I believe there was a time in 7th grade where we fully focused on it. I think at that time I was just not even paying attention, because you feel awkward already as the only African American in the room. So you're just like, please don't look at me, don't point to me, don't ask me questions about what you're talking about. But I believe that to the best of their ability, they gave me the best education that I could possibly get. And I say that because where I am today is a reflection of the people that took me under their wing, them pretty much pushing me to an extent. And my track coach, I can give a lot of kudos to him, and like the head dean there. They were just on it. They're just like, no, we're going to help you to pretty much do what you need to do. I mean, I understand that, when you are a person of color, there's a lot of opportunities where, you're given scholarships and things like that. And I was blessed to have that. I know that within that school, they sent me to Mississippi. So I went to Mississippi my junior and senior year, where I had the opportunity to volunteer as an educator with younger people, just teaching them. So my specialty at the time, because I was taking Spanish, was Spanish. So like I said, I never wanted to be an educator. I wanted to be a bilingual attorney. So, and that came about because we always traveled to Puerto Rico in track. And, I lived by neighbors who were from Puerto Rico. So my thing going down there, that's where teaching pretty much started. That opportunity of them sending me down to the South. Now, my family is from the South, Montgomery, Alabama, to be exact. And so they pretty much pushed me to say, hey, I'm giving out these opportunities. So I don't really feel like I was educationally at a disadvantage.
Nice. And that is, that's a blessing to hear, because sometimes that's not always the story. And a lot of times, for a lot of the guests that I've asked that same question to, it was that they learned that some of the experiences that they had when they were younger, they didn't realize what it was when they were younger. They didn't realize it until they got older and were just like, oh, okay, yeah, that wasn't right. So,
well, I will say this. Before I went to this particular private school, I was at another one. And that one had a tendency to hold back African Americans. And I didn't recognize that until my mother pulled me from the school. So they pretty much would hold back the African Americans, and they would pretty much state that, you know, they have a learning disability. So, you know, as a child, your mother's giving you, you know, back in the day, the hooked on phonics, all of the learning centers and all these things. And you're like, well, what's wrong with me? And then you go to another school and they test you and they're like, nothing's wrong with them. So that was my experience. But I didn't know that was racism. And I think I spoke on my experience at the school that actually treated me well. Because, I mean, who cares about the other one? Like, because the people that were there who were doing that, they pretty much reaped what they sowed, and they're not there anymore. But I did, you know, experience something like that, but it wasn't something that I ever thought about because I was in 2nd grade. Okay.
Yeah. And by the grace of God, like I said, your mom, I had to know a thought to get you out of there and say, ain't nothing wrong with my child. Ain't nothing wrong with you. So, you know what I mean? So shout out to Mama Love for being able to do that and to realize, cause like a lot of times, you know, they'll see Black and brown kids and will automatically label them. They'll automatically and don't realize that they're stigmatizing them at the same time, because a lot of times we end up believing what it is that you say about us and be like, oh, well, I'm dumb. Okay. But really we're not. I tell people all the time, the kids from the inner city are some of the most gifted kids that you will ever meet. The difference is whether or not, people are patient enough with them to turn on their light bulbs. But once you turn on the light bulbs, it's like you can't dim that light. But we just got to turn on a light bulb.
Yes, that is so important because I love the fact that I was able to teach 4th grade, but then I transitioned and I taught kindergarten for 3 years. And in kindergarten, like, people think that kids don't know much and they have to hand over hand. Don't baby them, because you are ultimately trying to teach them to be self-sufficient. By the age of 5, like, a child can learn many languages. Like, they can do so much. And like, I just looked at my class and parents would say to me, like, did my child just say he doesn't concur with me? Yes, he did tell you he doesn't concur with you. Why? Because we as African Americans, we don't expand upon our minds in regards to vocabulary. We lack in that. By 3rd grade back then, the statistic was saying that they were preparing jail cells for young men in 3rd grade. That's very traumatic to me. When I heard about that, I ran with that. And I let my boys know, like, listen, like, not everybody wants to see you succeed. But if you in my class, you want to try. Okay. You're going to try. And I think that's the thing. Like, not a lot of people move with a sense of urgency. And you got to have somebody on your team. I'm telling you, like, if you're sending your children to, like, and it doesn't matter, I don't care which school you're sending them to, but you better have that connection where you know that teacher or that administration, they're on your side. They're fighting for your child because they know what they're up against. I just know what my kids are dealing with because, hey, I live in the same neighborhood that they grew up with. And even though I had opportunities to go to a school that was more affluent, that doesn't mean I still didn't go through adversity. I remember waking up, you know, a hot water tank go out. Hey, I got to get up and go with my mom to Colony Street to help fix it. These are things that are real. Like, I had to do real life experiences. If that hot water tank broke, my mother was saying, find some way to get yourself to basketball. I remember having to take a bus, the number 13, all the way to school. It took me 30 minutes each and every day to get to school. And when the bus stopped running at 6 o'clock, I had to walk a mile to get to my basketball game. And back then, it's winter time. So, you're getting frostbite, but you still have to play. Those are obstacles that other people didn't understand. And I remember one time I'm in the bathroom, like tearing up, like, they're like, what's the matter? I'm like, my hands are cold. They're numb. They're like, well, why didn't you call us on your cell phone? I'm like, what cell phone? Like, I had to walk here, but I'm here. And in that game, I put up 30 points, but we don't understand how strong we are as a people. So I just
that's amazing right there. That with chilly fingers, Jilly was able to put up 30 points. But yeah, the heart behind that story is that having to juggle real life experiences at the same time, where you're being pushed to do well academically. Like, a lot of times some administrators may not realize that it's just a tough reality sometimes, just trying to make it to get to school. Like you said, it was like, yo, I gotta take a bus for 30 minutes to go in and get here. I'm not here freezing. I'm here. I'm gonna do my best. But
especially if you can't use the stove. You over at the corner store trying to get a bag of chips just so you eat in the morning. Like, that's how it was.
Okay. Yeah, man. Put up 30 points with frozen stubs. How do they do that? Let me see. This one here. I know, what was it, 2 days ago on the 21st, we did receive a guilty verdict in the George Floyd case. So I'm sure social unrest is going to come to mind when I read this question to you. But it says, the Black Lives Matter movement is not just about police brutality, but it's also about dismantling systematic racism. If you were in charge of helping to mobilize a particular part of Black Lives Matter, what are one or two things that you think that we should focus on as a community, as a collective?
So this was hard for me. Okay. And the reason why I say that is because, especially when like everything was going on with George Floyd and, Breonna Taylor and things like that, I wrestled with, how could I get involved? What could I contribute? Because my main focus was my boys, right? And not everybody's a protester. Yep. Not everybody is a person on the front lines. The best thing that I could possibly do is educate, because at the end of the day, the boys still have to know their history, right? And they have to know why this is taking place. I think there has to be like some type of education for, especially with the young ones. Why is this happening? So within the Black Lives Matter movement, I have to know my place, and my place is not what they can do. They can do what they do because that's their purpose. For me, it would have to be more tackling the education. Like I said before, there is a gap that we have as African Americans. And so the more that they know how to read, the more they can inform themselves to be more proactive with situations like this. They can learn how to be attorneys to litigate, more social action affairs. They can understand, those Emmett Till stories and those other stories that are traumatic, but necessary for them to learn that history kind of has like erased or eradicated. And that now they're just it's thrown at them to understand, like, this is what you come from. So it's just more like making sure that they're sane within this era, because there's a lot. You have kids dealing with COVID, and then you're throwing on top of it Black Lives Matter. What can I do to help? I can teach them as much as I can to help them to process what's going on. So I just know my place in this situation.
I can keep the babies safe. I can educate the babies. And, that is just as important. Like when you just said what you said, the word synergy synergy comes to mind. It's like the sum of the whole is greater than any of the individual parts. So each of us have a part to play. You know, my job was not being out there on the front line either, because I got to make it home. So I've had enough experiences myself to know that, you know, listen, I'm trying to stay far away. But I also realize that there's other ways that I can contribute. And part of it is, you know, one, I remember when everything was happening in Atlanta, one of my close friends, also one of my frat brothers too, but me and him were going back and forth over about what he felt should be done and what I felt should be done. And I was like, literally, I just don't want anybody else to get hurt unnecessarily. And that was a major concern for me, you know what I mean, having my own run-ins and battles with the police. Just like, I just didn't want anybody to get hurt. So everybody was like, oh, Tyrell, you know, you're not as hard as you used to. I said, man, you call it what you want to do. So
it's called growth.
Call it. So yeah. So but yeah. So I get it. So your contribution is just as important, if not more, because I meant what I said. Teachers need to be paid their worth, and anyone who has the capacity to change the mindset and to change the direction of another life, that's a very powerful position. So your contribution to what you're doing to the community and with those boys there is bigger than ever, because those what they're marching for in BLM ultimately affects them. Exactly.
It's for them.
Exactly. All right. Well, 2018 and 2020 might have been two of the worst years statistically that I know of in Albany, violence-wise, which is going to lead me to my next question for you. Sadly, Albany has seen more and more violence, and we've lost a lot of deaths over the past few years. What changes would you like to see in the city of Albany? What is your hope for the city, Jillian?
I just think that when those who are in charge are actually, one, living in the city, they understand a little bit more, that can help. Also, getting to know the people. It can't be fake. It can't be something where it's like, I'm doing this for a vote, because we see a lot of that, and nobody has time for that. People actually want the realness. They want somebody who is going to be on their side. They want people who are going to take their views and the things that they are going through for real. So that's what I want to see. I want more hands on deck, more involvement in all levels of government, so that there can be a change. But they have to, I mean, it's hard. It really is hard because, you know, I speak from like an administrator's position too, but and the task that anybody who is in leadership has can be a lot, but you have to make time for the things and the people that you're working with. Like, they're your consumers, they're your constituents, they're the ones who need what you have. So it's about making time to learn the people so you can fully assess what to give.
Okay. Yeah, definitely making time. When you talk about the elected officials, Tuesday is my final interview for season 1. And I have one of the candidates that is running for a council seat as well. And I think that positioning ourselves within the system will ultimately give us a better chance to have a larger say or a voice that is heard. But yeah, like you said, to be more involved, to be more active, whatever way that you can do that. Don't just sit by and watch it happen and then just complain about it. Some people just want to complain about everything.
Because when these like killings happen and when things happen, you can't just say, well, it's because of the neighborhood or because of the people or because the new courts or because of this. I'm going to shut this down because of this. And I think, are you really going in to assess what the problem may be? Is it really that, or is it that we're not teaching people what they need to do to be successful? Like, come on. Like, somebody went astray because there was a lack of a mentor. Somebody dropped out because nobody went after them. Somebody got shot because you allowed for something to happen. Everything has a cause and effect.
Yep.
So we have to seal up the broken windows so that we can be able to heal as a community. Like, enough is enough. Why are people killing people? Go there. What is the root of the trauma or the situation that people are choosing to take another life or accidentally taking another life?
Yeah.
Did you teach them empathy? Did you teach them how to care about people's feelings? Like, were they loved as a child? Did they go through traumas that made them snap ultimately? Like, these are things like, do we need counseling? Do we really need to like sit down and offer free counseling for people who can't afford it? Should we just offer those services? Now, sorry for all my counselors. I'm not trying to give away services. But are these things going to help our community?
Yes, yes, and yes. So for everything that you just mentioned, yes, those are the questions that we need to ask. And those are the questions that we need answers to. So I'm going to go back to what you would have hoped the younger Jilly would have got an answer to those questions. Those are the questions that we need an answer to, because even if you look at Albany as a whole, there was a community center in almost every part of Albany. You know, there were activities to do outside of school. Whether that was if you wanted to go see the music mobile, if you wanted to, like you said, you ran track, you played ball. There were leagues in almost every community. And those resources, where have they gone? And what in the absence of having those resources, what has it resulted to? And that's where the administrators really have to take a deep dive and look at it and say, you know, some of it is on us, meaning that even without it, we got to find ways to strive and want more and create more. But when it's systematic, you know, or systemic, you know, it's just like, okay, well, you know, some of this is beyond us as well. And how do we change that? How do we change?
Because like you said, like there was a community center, and those areas, like those things that were planted in the community, they helped kids learn so much. Like technology, like in our homes, we didn't have technology like that. But when we went to these places, we learned how to use a computer. We learned how to type. We learned how to see job opportunities, the LPP program. Like I think about all those programs that allowed people to figure out what they wanted to do with their life, or expose them to different things. Like I just remember going to school and I'm like, ultimate frisbee, that's a thing. Golf, what is this? Like, what are these things? And then when we bring them to the community, like, what was that tennis thing? 15 Love tennis.
15 Love.
Like, people were doing that. They were like, oh, I want to be I want to be the next Venus and Serena because, you know, 15 Love is in the community and things like that. Like, there was a lot of exposure.
Yeah, and where is that now? You know what I mean? The last
it's
person
in Fortnite.
Yeah. What did you say? Yeah, it's on Fortnite?
It's in Fortnite.
Yeah, it's in Fortnite. And it's a shame. It's a shame, man, because no shade at gamers, but I can't tell you how to play any of those games.
Listen, give me a Nintendo, the old one, the Atari.
Listen, but I couldn't tell you how to do any of it right now, but that's where a lot of the focus is. That's where a lot of the attention is. And but it also, if you're playing games all day, you're also missing that outside perspective. Being able to play hide and seek outside, being able to go run, double dutch, you name it. So, you know what I mean? We have to, even in environments where it's less, and I know it's easier said than done because it is, because when you have a lack of resources and a lack of finances, and you're limited to the area in which you live in. But ultimately, I always say two things will change the life of almost anybody, but especially young adults: consistency and exposure. I think if on a consistent level, you're able to be exposed to different people, to different things. It doesn't necessarily mean that you will go that way, but it definitely will at least give you the opportunity to say, well, I know that exists. I know that existed, as opposed to it didn't. Like you said, you got a chance to travel through track or playing sports, and was just like, there's other opportunities, there's other countries to go to, there's other states, and that's a huge part of it. Consistency and exposure.
Exposure is key, because if you never see it, you don't know it. I remember we had an English language learner, and I was teaching one time, and he said, "What's a bee?" The regular bee that, pollinates and flowers, didn't know. So something just as simple as that, like, we need to expose our children to so many different things. Like, they don't know what it is. Like, okay, they know, like, double dutch. We grew up on, the girls, we grew up on double dutch. And that's a lost art. That is a lost art. Thank God we had somebody who was, teaching at one point double dutch here in Albany. But, honestly, just going outside, playing till the street lights came on. No. No, we don't have that.
Nope. I want to stay inside and play games.
Yeah. Big Brothers and Big Sisters. I remember that program, and it exposed us to how to do lanyard and, the box and the twisted cobra and all those other things that you did with lanyards. Yeah.
Listen, you just named some historic places, and it's like, where are they now? Because I know Big Brothers and Big Sisters hasn't totally folded, so I'm sure it's still around. But you had an abundance of different programs that you might not have been able to afford this one, but you might have been able to afford this one, or someone got you a scholarship to go to this camp. We had so many different things, and now it's kind of like we're expecting the communities to be able to do so much more with less.
I have parents asking me all the time, do you know of any camps going on? I'm lost for myself to say, I can't even send you to a resource. So, it's about us pushing. Since we are the next generation, how can we, us thinking about what programs, our strengths and our weakness, our strengths that we can capitalize on to expose other people to. Like I said, within modeling and track, I started the track program here. So I had 1 year, thanks to my coach, Coach Vives. He allowed me to coach 1 year at U Albany. And once I was finished with that, I came here. We started the track program. Those kids understand the discipline. And I started the track program with just kids with behaviors, people who just, needed something, an outlet to come back to. Yep, you're going to learn teamwork. Yep, you're going to do this. And if they knew that they were about to sit out of a meet, or, they couldn't throw the shot, but they were like, oh, no, Miss Sherman, I got this. I'm going to turn my life around. I'm going to turn it around. So we've seen a lot of change with programs that are implemented in systems. Even the young guys who wanted to model, they want to be the next GQ. We had fashion shows. Here's how you learn how to walk. Here's how you learn how to do this. I started a choir at one point, because you have people that sing. Our kids don't know their gifts and talents. I remember my mom, she put me in like a lot of things. I didn't want to play the clarinet. Oh, I'm going to learn today. I didn't want to learn how to play the organ. Oh, I learned how to play the organ. Tap, jazz, ballet, gymnastics, all those things. Here, go to it, learn how to do it. That's how we find our strengths and weaknesses. That's how we learn who we are and what we're made out of. And I think because of that, that's why I'm very resilient. You can't tell me I can't do anything. I can do all things because I know that I'm strengthened. And so, I don't know, we don't have a lot of risk takers now. If you fall, are you going to get back up? We don't have a lot of people willing to get back up. But when you do have people in your life that will say to you, it's okay to fall.
Yeah.
And when you get back up, I'm going to be right there for you. That's what we're missing. That's that consistency part. Someone who's going to be there for when you fall and help you to get back up. That's what we need. We need a lot of mentors right now.
Hey, I think you're spot on. All I can do is say that. I think you're spot on. Well, let me see. How did growing up in Albany prepare you for adulthood?
Growing up in Albany helped me for adulthood. I mean, Albany has so many aspects to it, and every aspect helped me to mind my own business. Sometimes, stay focused. It helped me to, as I said before, be resilient. It helped me to overcome challenges. It helped me to be kind to people, honestly. And it's hard to say, but we don't speak to people anymore. I remember, like, because when I go down south, everyone's like, how you doing? How you doing? But when we're up here now, it's very hard when people are just walking and they walk straight past you and they don't say hi. Like, I don't remember that. Everybody like, when we used to back in the day, it was like, oh, when you walk, make sure you pick your head up. Oh, how you doing? Say hi. But Albany did teach me a lot of resilience, perseverance, and to appreciate where I came from. Because in the appreciation of where I came from, I appreciate where I am that much more.
Nice.
A lot of times, I remember in college one time, your wife said to me, don't be the victim. Stop being the victim. And that stuck with me for years, because sometimes when you don't have everything, you want to cry about it. You want to kick and scream. Okay, no, you didn't grow up with your dad. No, you didn't grow up with this. No, you didn't grow up with that. But what are you going to do about it? Move on, push through the adversity. And that's what Albany taught me. There are so many people our age that when I saw us graduate, when I saw us go to different colleges, some of us went to VA, some of us went to Maryland, some of us went to Washington. Like, there were all these places I saw people going, and it was because it was like, we got to get out of Albany. Or even if we stayed in Albany, it's like, there's more than just Albany. Yep. And that's what we need to teach people. There's more than just Albany. I was very disheartened when someone said to me, I mean, to each his own. Right. And I never want to show disrespect to someone who never went on a plane before or never went on a boat before. But you got to get out of here. And you got to see more than Colony Street. You got to see more than Livingston Avenue. You got to see more than Morton Avenue. Like, there's so much more than all these places. And I think the minute that we do that, that's where the growth happens. That's where tolerance happens. That's where different perspective happens. That's where we learn to embrace. That's where we learn to let go. That's where we begin to take risks, because it's scary. I think my biggest fear of not leaving Albany yet, but I will one day. But I think the biggest fear of leaving is because this is home, but you find a comfort in what you know. But comfort in what you know can be a stumbling block sometimes.
Not sometimes. Most times. Most times. Well, I leave it at sometimes.
It depends on what it is, but it can be a stumbling block. And I think that we should be trying to motivate one another to do more.
Okay. You said a couple of things I wanted to quickly go back to. One, shout out to you for playing all those instruments. We're not going to pretend that you didn't just list off a bunch of different instruments that you played. And one of the reasons why I want to go back to that is because another word that you mentioned was empathy. I can only imagine, even though, like, as an adult, I know that those were all great qualities. Those are all tangibles that you want to add to your makeup. But as young kids, we can be ruthless. So it'd be like, you playing this? It's like, what? You playing that? And just like, but the older or the more mature, because I'm not even gonna say older, because sometimes you can get old and still not get mature, you'll realize that, those skills are what will set you apart from the many later. And it's just like, it's not until you get older that you'll have an appreciation for those skills. Like, wow, you did that. Wow, you did that. Because our younger selves, we're looking for the things readily in front of us. You know what I mean? Peer pressure, who's in, who's out, you know what I mean? And stuff like that. So, but shout out once again to your mom for telling you you're going to learn today.
All right, Mama Sherms.
Yep. Yeah. So I wanted to say that. And then two, my wife is still the same way to this day. So, which is both good and bad. I always tell her now, you know, take time to process things, right? Process it, because her general attitude will be to, you know, well, yeah, that might have happened, but we're not going to stay there. Move forward. But, you know, you definitely want to move forward. And that's one of the things that I picked up from being around her. So even to hear you mention that, she's still the same way now.
That was my junior year. My junior year. I remember it.
Yep. It's still the same way now. You know what I mean? You always want to push forward. And it's I think a healthy person has a great balance of both. You know what I mean? Deal with whatever it is that needs to be dealt with, but at the same time, don't stay stuck in a rut. And in my family, we didn't really know how to move forward as much. We sometimes, especially myself, you know, I'll be stuck in my emotions and be stuck in my feelings, you know what I mean? And then I had to learn how, and it wasn't, to be honest, it wasn't until I met my wife really to learn how to move forward instead of just staying stuck in your emotions. Oh, this person stepped on your shoe in third grade. You didn't like them. You still don't like him, Tyrell? He's like, you know, I guess I can let it go. You know what I mean? But yeah, so so one, I wanted to go back to your skill set with all of those exposures to instruments. Two was the being able to not just stay the victim, but realizing that these things may have happened. I may have done this, but I'm going to move forward. I'm going to be better because I know who strengthens me. I know where I get my strength from, and I'm going to be better. And that's part of it. You know what I mean? Just realizing that experiences don't have to determine who you're going to be. I got kicked out of high school. You know what I mean? Midway through my senior year of high school. Who would have ever known that, you know, thankfully I got a scholarship right before that happened through Sponsor a Scholar. Later sat on the board of directors for Sponsor a Scholar. I got a chance to go down to Charlotte, North Carolina to HBCU and it changed my life. You know what I mean? So you don't want to just look at the circumstances at the time, but if you can be able to press further and if you got a strong enough team, you know what I mean, there's greater, it can be greater later.
And right. even if people don't have a strong team, know your triggers and then try to get yourself away from those things, because there's always going to be something in life that's going to come back to remind you of your past or remind you of, you know, something you did. But I mean, it is what it is. It's about, like you said, moving forward and just seeing the future, seeing the goal you're setting for yourself. And that's why goal setting is also important, because you might be here, but that's not where you're going to be. So that goal is keeping you focused on where you would like to be. All I knew is that I wanted to be in Milan, in France. I wanted to be walking the runway. But my mother said, get something in your head. You need more than just strutting down the runway. And then it wasn't until the O.J. Simpson case, I was like, oh, Johnny Cochran? Like, he has all these ties. I was like, oh, I'm going to be an attorney, and I'm going to have a new pair of pumps every day, and I'm going to strut in the courtroom. Like, that's my thoughts. Like, bubble popped. But that was my thoughts. Like, but we just need those people to push us. And if we don't have people to push us, our circumstances, our situations, they better push us or irk us or annoy us enough to where we're like, oh, I got to change. This is enough. This enough is enough. And that's what we as a community have to get to the point where we have to say, even going back to the killings, enough is enough. When are we going to come together, right? And just say, what can we do to help you? Like, housing, do we have job opportunities for you? Like, you don't always have to be here, you know, on the corner. You could be here. You could be here. The people are not exposed, like you said, to the possibilities of what are endless.
Yeah. And part of it is because if you limit yourself to the same environment, to the same people, how can you learn anything different? And like I said, I love Albany with a passion. So it doesn't matter where I'm at. You know, I love Albany. but I also realized that getting out of Albany just to go to school changed my life, because I went to Charlotte and realized that, wow, there's other people in the world doing things differently. You know what I mean? They speak differently. You know what I mean? They listen to different music. They behave differently. It was all of these different things. And just like, wow, it was bigger than just Albany. Because at a point in time in my life in Albany, it was a small 4-block radius for the most part where I'm traveling and who I'm running with. But you get a chance, like I said, that exposure piece is crucial, and everybody deserves it, because once you start to see it, it changes your perspective for forever. And Albany is a great place. A lot of people overlook smaller communities. They overlook smaller communities because it doesn't have all of the glitz and the glamour as like a New York City or a larger place. But there are a lot of values. Like you said, Albany prepared you because of your experiences and all that you've seen in Albany, because it taught you how to deal with people. It taught you how to have empathy. It teaches you, like I said, man, there's people that's up, there's people that's down. How do you want to treat these people? You know what I mean? How do you want to be remembered? What part of society, of our society or a small community in Albany do you want to play? And I've always, and I still do appreciate Albany for that. So like, you know, it'll always be home. And Flay said that in a previous interview, he said, listen, you know what I mean? The one thing that we have in common is Albany. So regardless of where we are in the world, there's certain people you can only have certain conversations with and about. You can't tell them about Kenneth's going down to get a fish fry with cheese and some French fries.
Chicken.
You know? Yeah, you know, so yeah, Albany's home. Albany's home. Let me see. Well, what about your life's path are you most proud of, Jillian?
I pretty much got a generic kind of answer. So for me, I believe that I am proud of the lives that I've impacted, right? Okay. I've only lived a short amount of years. So I just remember just the other day, I had one of the parents come to me and say that she met a young lady who said to her that, oh, Miss Sherman, that's my mentor. And I'm like, me, your mentor? Like, who is this? And then even though I felt like I didn't know who this particular person was, I just liked the fact that I was effective. And I think I'm proud of the fact that I can have an impact on people that I encounter. My wall right here, there's some pictures. And on this wall are my former fourth graders. And they're not sitting here in fourth grade attire. They are actually in cap and gown as seniors. And so for me, I'm proud of the fact that I have started this growth of like, hey, college. And for me, I'm waiting for my next set of pictures of seeing them graduate from college. I'm proud of their stories. I'm proud of the families that each and every day I get to pour into, whether they like it or not. You know, you have those tough conversations sometimes, but we're a family. And I love and I'm proud of the fact that somebody had an impact on me. And now I can take what I've learned and be an impact on somebody else. So I'm proud of where life has taken me.
Nice. And that's not generic. That's good. Let me see, man. I got 2 more questions for you, and I'm gonna let you go.
All righty.
Let me see. Yep. This one is, what opportunities do you have because and only because you went to college? Because I want to ask you that one because I know that you said your next set of pictures that's going to be on the wall is when your students accomplish that next milestone for them, which will be college. So obviously, you know, that is another milestone you're waiting to get to with to share with them vicariously through their experience. But what opportunities do you feel that you have because and only because you went to college, Jillian?
It goes back to that word growth. Because like I said, I was sheltered as a child. And when you're sheltered and you're trapped in Albany, you only see so much. College allowed me to meet a lot of great people. And when in meeting those people, I learned to do more traveling. It was no longer a state to state type of travel. It was, I'm now going to the islands and now I'm traveling, or I'm going to different places. College, the only thing that I could get from college, like I told you, I learned how to cook in college. I'm sorry, I did. In college, I learned how to interact with African Americans, like on a daily basis, because I was known as the black white girl. So yeah. it pretty much for me was like, I learned how to.
It's sad. It's sad. But I can imagine, because like earlier I said, we were ruthless as young adults. And yeah, so. But sorry, so, I didn't mean to.
No, it's okay. I literally had to learn in college how to. Wow, this one was hard because I had to learn how to be a team player in a sense, because growing up, like not the only child, but the only child, I was very like selfish. So learning with roommates, I didn't have roommates. Like clean up after yourself. Like don't leave this around. Like I had to learn how to speak. I had to learn how to be assertive, because I was around people that it was like, we argued. It was like, let's hug, you know, and it's like, and they were more like, no, I'm about to go get my Vaseline and I'm about to, and it's like, whoa, I litigate. I talk about my feelings, you know, I'm not really gonna, you know, mess up my face for your pettiness, but we can talk about this. So we pretty much all learned from each other in college. I learned that in college, I wasn't always associated as a girl from Albany, from other people who were outside of Albany. I wasn't, and I don't know. I know why, but how I carried myself, my education here allowed me to seem different. But I repped Albany for always. And for me, you know, after that, I got, you know, small Albany. It's like, all right, enough. In college, I learned that there was more beyond college. I learned that there was grad school and all these other schools afterwards that you could acquire more knowledge. And I learned friendship because, like I said, I have a bubbly personality. I can talk to anybody. I can say hi to anybody, but I learned about true friendships. I learned about that people hurt you sometimes. I learned the sad truth about that. And that college taught me a lot in regards to people. That was the hardest, because I would be sad, like, why are you treating me like this? Or why are you like this? And people's personalities, I understand that everybody's situation causes them to react differently. And that was hard for me to understand. I just thought, hey, if people opened the door for me, I was like, that's my friend. You know, you shared this with me. You're my friend. And it was like, no, naive child, like, calm down. Like, everybody's not your friend. And I just remember, like, the people I hung out with in college, like, no, you just got to watch. You got to observe. You got to take in things a little bit more. So that's what I learned.
Okay, I can appreciate that too. And just to add on to what you said, I remember going down to Johnson C. Smith my freshman year. I knew how to communicate because I was a social person in Albany, but I was a social person around everybody that I knew. So when I went to Charlotte, now I'm in a whole new place. I'm in a whole new place with different people. Everyone's vying and jockeying to be the most important person. And I was just hell-bent on trying to stay myself. And I think it came off the wrong way. So I got in a lot of fights and arguments my freshman year. because one, you know, oh, you from upstate, you da da da. Yep, I'm from Albany. That's right. Like, why you say it like that? You from Albany? Yeah, I'm from Albany. It's like, yeah, but I got in a lot of fights and arguments. But part of it was because I didn't. I was still learning how to be comfortable with myself in a new environment and realizing that there are so many different people from different places. And Morocco really changed my life. And it was just like, that was the best break ever. So after freshman year, getting a chance to go over to Morocco helped me to come back as a healthier, better person, period.
I love Morocco. Yeah. That was a great place.
Shout out to Morocco.
Great place.
Right. Shout out to Morocco. Yeah. But yeah, man, shout out to you and your experience there and learning that, you know what I mean? Yeah, like I said, man, those are one of the things that, it's a very expensive lesson going to college. And that's why I said some people, oh, well, I don't need to pay all that money to get these lessons. But those are lessons that are monumental in our growth and developing who we are and who we're going to be as people. So, yeah. And that whole Albany thing was just different too. Yeah, I know you said that you blended in just well, but when I came home, what was that, 2005, I made it a point of mine to one, not only get close with everybody up there at Albany. Shout out to my girl, Beverly Slim.
Beverly.
But I made it a point to get close with everybody up there because that everyone had that attitude. It was like, oh, you a local? And I'm just like, well, listen, I'm from here too, but you know, I went to school in Charlotte, North Carolina. I was like, oh, so you a little different? No, actually, I'm a local. So, you know, but, you know, let me bring you out into the community more. And Beverly still talks about this to this day. She was like, you know, thank you, Rail, for showing me the other side of Albany that I didn't get a chance to see. You know what I mean?
Because they made it sound like we were like dirt under like a rock. And it was like, huh? Like, no, like there are people here that are just like you or that want the same thing as you, but you have to find them. I hated that. They're like, oh, Albany people are dingy and dirty. I'm like, no, we're not.
Nope, not at all. And I would do the same thing even when I came back with my frat brothers. Just like, you know, I would bring them all down to Judson and Trinity place, or you know, but yeah, this is the community. You know what I mean? And if this is the community you want to serve, these are the people that you need to get acclimated with. And you know, because like I said, it's a small community, but if
everybody knows everybody.
Everybody knows everybody. Yeah, everybody knows everybody. But yeah, that was funny because that never goes away. And be like, you have to be the agent of change, and I'm sure you were an agent of change. So, all right, I got my last question for you. And even before I asked that, I didn't give you the opportunity, or either you didn't say, but when I asked my very first question, it was about passion projects. So I did happen to stumble upon something that I think is a passion project and a creative of yours. And I know that you are associated and involved with all types of things. So I'm going to come back to that question for you.
Okay.
So are there any other passion projects or things that you are involved in that keeps you acclimated to the community, Miss Jillian Sherman?
I don't, that passion projects, no. I mean, whatever my hands find to do, I do it with all my might. So I would say
it's with your hands. The one I'm thinking of is with your hands. You know, jazzed.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
So pretty much like, as far as I can know, like I've been doing hair since I was young. I actually remember going to a hairdresser as a young child, and I was like, oh, I want Shirley Temple curls. And she was like, well, you ain't got no Shirley Temple hair. And I was like, so I came out with a little Jerry curl looking like Charlie Brown's sister.
Ooh, no.
And you know, I was a little upset about that. You know, sometimes when you have traumatizing experience with hairdressers, and shout outs to all the great hairdressers out there, never want to knock their profession that they worked hard to go to school for. But I've had some experiences where I just wanted to learn, you know, the science of our hair. And I just remember when the era of the whole natural movement was coming out, and I remember going to a hairdresser and she said to me, God is holding you accountable over your hair. I was like, what? She's like, you just want to perm it and do all these things and fry it, dye it, lay to the side. And she's like, you have to learn how to take care of it. Like a plant, your hair grows from your scalp, and you need to ensure that you are treating it the best way that you possibly can. And those words of wisdom had always stuck with me. So oftentimes when people see me, they like how my hair looks. And so, you know, they were just like, can you, you know, do my hair and things like that. So for me, it was just something that I would do. And then ultimately my sorority sisters, they started sending me their children. So I pretty much have the whole Delta crew of Delta babies, and pretty much doing their hair because I believe in confidence, and I believe that no one should ever tell a child their hair is nappy. No one should ever tell a child, like, you know, that they're not good enough. And I think as African Americans, we're oftentimes told, like, what we have growing on our scalp is not good enough. And the texture of it is horrible. So when I braid these little girls' hair, I talk to them about their hair and I say, you know, you have to treat it this way. This is the nape of, you know, of your neck. This is, you know, your front. These are where your edges grow. You might have grown edges and you might have baby edges, but whatever edges you have, just make sure you take care of them. Yeah, no, everybody doesn't need to be necessarily playing in your hair. We have a lot of stories now out where kids are going to school with their hair a certain way and cruel bullies are cutting their hair out of their heads. So we're just I choose to just teach young girls, like, love your hair and take care of it. It can grow long if you treat it, if you drink your water, you eat your vegetables, you know, all the things that you think aren't good for you, they're actually helping to produce these hair follicles to come out of your head and look beautiful just the way they are. So yeah, it's just pretty much a art form of, you know, me just playing around, but them also like feeling confident. So Jazz by Jilly is just something small, but it's not just a hairstyle, it's an experience. So it's really me just bonding with my Delta nieces and just loving on them. And then, you know, oftentimes people, my sorority sisters, they'll call me and, you know, we will just bond and just have a moment.
I totally understand it, but I also understand the power of ministry. And, you know, so ultimately, we help how we help. And you have been able to take different aspects of what you love, whether it was track, now implementing at the school, whether it was, what was the other one? It was track. It was modeling, you know, those are significant things. So even you teaching the importance of taking care of your hair. It's like people don't realize how important it is. I interviewed Patrick Robinson and then Daryl McCray from Bricks. And both of them always remind me, they was like, well, he said, Rel, you know, one of the projects that you started here is still going on now. And that was the community cuts drive. And then we expanded it with Jade's Hair Envy to start doing cuts for, getting the girls' hair styled for the year. It's very important. Some people don't go to school because, you know, they don't have the money or the resources to go ahead and get their hair done. So that's why I'm saying, I know you said it was small, but it's a major contribution. So shout out to you for that, because it builds confidence, and that confidence exudes and comes out in other ways.
And I tell that to my parents sometimes too. Listen, you don't know how to braid? I'll hook them up with some braids. But we just want to make sure he understands presentation, right? Because oftentimes we don't understand how the way we carry ourselves, people perceive us a certain way, how our presentation gives people a certain aura. As much as we want to just be ourselves, sometimes in society, you can't just look how you want to look. You actually have to, and it's sad, but conform to some of the norms, not all of them, but some of the norms of what's going to allow you to get. Once you get your foot in the door and you own what you own, then do what you want. But until then, you fake it till you make it. That's what I've always taught.
Okay. All right. Listen, well, thank you for extending me your time. My last question for you. Jillian, are you reading any books, listening to any podcasts, following any social media accounts? Are there any things that motivate you that you can offer, or you want to refer to the Black community? What are you reading? What podcasts you listening to? Stuff like that.
All right. So to the people, I don't want to sit here and lie to you and tell you that I'm out here reading and that I'm out here listening to all these podcasts. I don't want to lie to you because I'm not. And the reason why is because my workload takes up most of my time. So if anything that I'm reading Teach Like a Champion over and over as my educational literature. I'm reading different things that help me to grow as a leader. And book studies with that. But yeah, no, I don't want to lie to you. When I wake up in the morning, I'm turning on some gospel so that I can get my mind right, because every day is a struggle and you just want to make sure you make it through the day. Okay. I'm still at work now, so.
Okay. Well, listen, man, I'm not going to hold you up any longer because I don't want to be the reason why you stay there any longer. Jillian, it has been a pleasure to interview you tonight. Thank you for extending your time to the Black community, and I look forward to getting your story out to the people. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you for this opportunity. Sometimes when you are sharing part of your story, not all of it, but it can be a little like daunting and you don't know how it's going to turn out. So I just thank you that I was able to actually be as transparent as I could be and share with you part of my story.
Oh, well, thank you very much. And I look forward to getting it out to the people. You have yourself a wonderful night, and I'll play catch up with you later.
All right. You as well.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.